What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the RXP podcast. This is the podcast where a bunch of working professionals talk all about their love for movies, TV shows, video games. Today, we have a very special peer review on 2025's Superman. Just came out, and of course, my name's Matt. If you're new to the show, but I am not alone. No, Tiffany.
Hey, I'm here to talk about the titular Man of Steel.
Yeah, you kind of like jump ship, like usual. The Marvel girly is now DC for today.
Listen,
today only until 2 weeks when you're back to Marvel.
Yeah, with the Fantastic Four baby, but like Superman, no, probably my first true love as a young gal.
Ooh, we'll get into it. And it's not just us two. We also have Yasser waking up early this morning.
Bright and early. Very excited.
Yeah. I am so excited to talk to you all. Superman, of course. Like, we are in blockbuster season. Jurassic World Rebirth came out a couple weeks ago.
Gosh.
Superman happened this week. In a couple weeks, we have Fantastic Four. I feel like whether we like these movies or not, it is just awesome to kind of go into the theater. There'll be a ton of people there. People are excited to go to the theater. And I'm just loving it. Like, we are feasting right now. So we're going to talk all about Superman. If you haven't seen Superman, this is your chance. Pause. Come back to us. We'll be here. We'll be here to tell you all about our spoiler-filled thoughts. But this is going to be a pretty spoiler-heavy conversation about Superman. So this is your last warning. Okay, now let's get into it. Tiffany, let's start with you. Tell me, like you said, this is your first love.
Yes.
I want to know all about that.
So,
were you pumped about a live adaptation? DCU?
Yes.
No longer DCEU.
DCU. So Superman, always been a fan since I was like elementary school. I would say
Okay.
Partly, maybe it was when I was a little bit older, but I was obsessed with the like TBS show Lois and Clark Adventures of Superman with like Dean Cain and Terry, that lady Terry.
No idea.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Terry
I know what show you're
Hatchett.
talking
I don't
about.
know what her name is. But she was on was she on like Desperate Housewives later? I was just super into the idea of Superman. I think the story of just this person escaping a dying planet with the love of his parents guiding him and his message and viewpoints, and just finding his place in the world and finding his Lois Lane really spoke to me when I was growing up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, Batman didn't have a lady friend. Or maybe he had a lot of lady friends.
Lady friends.
I mean,
that was the thing.
Okay, I think the thing was like for me, it was like Superman was like committed, at least for like the show that I was familiar with, and even the older Christopher Reeves movies. Lois Lane was his like true love, or that was depicted to me in an era of like the 90s, the 80s and 90s, where it's like the American dream is growing up and then getting married and starting a family of your own. So like that, I was drinking that Kool-Aid, okay? And the fact that he was just like super powerful, he did his best to save everyone. He was the ultimate good. He found the good in people. He believed in people. I didn't believe in people back then. But, he was...
Even back then?
Wow.
No, I'm just kidding.
Jesus.
I'm kidding. I believe in people. But, like, it was aspirational. And just the idea of just, like, having so many abilities. Like, I love the idea of flying,
Yeah, 100%.
like
Top tier ability.
Yeah, and then also, like, not being phased by bullets and stuff. Like, weapons just didn't have that much of an impact on him. It was just one rock that was like, how many rocks are out there? You know what I mean? Those kryptonites, like they ain't there. It's not like superfluous or whatever. So I don't know, man. We could probably get into more of the psyche of why I was super into it, but I've always liked it. So coming in the last like 15, 20 years, Brandon Routh Superman, big fan. Henry Cavill Superman, big fan. David Coruscant, is that his name? How do you pronounce his last name?
You're killing it.
I-
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, he did a great
You lost
job.
me at Dean Cain. You know,
Oh,
that was my last one.
That's fair. Oh gosh, we don't speak about Dean Cain anymore. But like David Coruscant, great depiction of Superman. Big fan.
Right.
Big fan.
Perfect. Yeah. Yasser, what's your like touchstone with Superman?
Honestly, I'm actually not too far away from Tiffany's take. I know you're a big Batman guy, Matt,
Yeah.
but for me, it was always Superman growing up. Like he actually at the top spot for me for DC superheroes.
Yes.
And some of what Tiffany said is actually like kind of the downside with Superman, in my opinion. Like he is very strong. He has so many abilities. But to me, what makes Superman so great, and we have a few superheroes that are like this as well, especially on the Marvel side. But he to me relates a lot to one of my favorite characters in Marvel, which is Spider-Man, where he really has to grapple with the powers that he gets. He doesn't really know how to use them. And I love that part of his story. And furthermore, to Tiffany's point, he's always been about finding the good in people, finding the good in a situation that feels bad. And I love that aspect about Superman. And I think that's something that some people grappled with the last Superman take with Man of Steel, because we saw a Superman that was a lot darker than what we've ever
Yeah.
seen. And a lot of people just couldn't relate to that based on their
Yes.
past experiences with the character. So it was really going to be very interesting to see what James Gunn did with the character, because he's very known for following the comic book, right? So that's the most exciting part about this movie, I think.
You know, I had a lot
Yeah.
of friends tell me that like, why do you like Superman so much? He's so boring because he's so powerful. So I've always
Right.
have like heard that. And you're right. Like the last iteration of Superman was very dark and trying to go gritty. This boy gets his powers from the sun, the light. I'm
Yeah.
like, why are you doing this to my boy? He like I'm literally like he is the epitome of good and light, and we're like dragging him into the shadows. And yeah, that I mean, you know, there are elements that that I still enjoy. I'm a very apologetic about the Superman movies. But yeah, I was hoping for a brighter story, and I think we got that here.
Well, I think
Yeah.
also to a last point, Matt, when people say like, well, he's too overpowered, honestly, I would say one of his bigger weaknesses that people don't really think about, at least right off the bat, yeah, kryptonite, obviously, like everyone thinks of that. But his own heart is probably his biggest weakness, right? Like he gets in his own way most of the time, in a lot of the stories that I've seen, at least, uh, where that becomes one of his biggest obstacles that he needs to somehow overcome in the story that he's in, which I think is really cool as well.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting that like you two have such a high regard for Superman. I'll be honest,
Yeah.
DC has always been higher than Marvel in my mind. I'm super huge Batman fan, and the big reason why I'm a Batman fan is, yes, besides just his incredible wealth, he really doesn't have any superpowers, right? Like
Yeah.
his superpower was being a nepo baby, and
Very
that's
different
it.
character.
Very different character, but I love that. I love the vulnerability of a superhero where he can't just get shot point blank and not have any repercussions. A lot of the comics that I had read in the past, the animated series that came out in the 90s, which was my huge touchstone for Superman, it felt like a lot of same. Like it's basically him punching another big thing that punched him, and he always like came on top, and it kind of, no matter how big the odds were stacked against him, he always found a way to save everyone, no casualties. It just didn't have a lot at stake. That's kind of what I've always felt about Superman, which is why Batman always felt a little bit more, I don't know, more interesting in my mind. Coming into
Definitely
this
more
movie,
relatable,
though, like
right?
definitely, yeah. As you know, nepotism, billionaire, philanthropist, those are that's
Just as a
how
real
people
human
describe
being,
me.
you know what I mean?
Right. But coming into this movie, I was interested in seeing something new from Superman. Everything that I had saw up to this point, I think that James Gunn was trying to make him as vulnerable as possible. And, going into our first stakes, I'll be right off the bat. I love this movie. I thought this was great. I think for the first time, I just recently watched 1978 Superman with Christopher Reeves. I had seen all the movies that had come out in the 2000s Superman. I like this Superman way more. I think this Superman was vulnerable. It showed that greatest weakness that Yasser's talking about, of how he could have destroyed any of these things that come in his way, but if that would sacrifice citizens and people that are just walking around, getting demolished. He like saved a puppy, and like though that's what Superman is to me. Like that guy that will put a handicap on himself. It's almost like if you guys had watched Rush Hour with Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker. Jackie Chan could have beat up everybody, but he's trying to save the ancient Chinese art and artifacts while trying to beat up 8 people. Like he just puts on these handicaps against him. It makes it harder for him, and it was so interesting. And I thought some of the explanations of more of his vulnerabilities was so interesting that I have not found myself sitting in a Superman movie interested at all in any of those types of things. Zack Snyder's Superman honestly was just such darker. It was all the aspects of Superman I wasn't interested in. I don't care about an Iron Fist Superman. I care about the guy that's pretty close to Clark Kent. And I think that's what we got. So first impressions for me, I was pretty hot on it. Tiffany, what'd you think? We saw it together.
Yes.
On opening night.
I had a great time. I mean, even the opening sequence of just like, almost like a Star Wars opening with some background of like the history of him. I think one of the greatest strengths of this movie is jumping straight in to the action, right?
Yes.
Because even with the most recent Spider-Man trilogies, again, third iteration of Spider-Man in the last 15 years, we don't watch Uncle Ben die. We don't hear the line, with great power comes great responsibility. We know, everyone knows.
Yeah.
Eventually we hear the line.
Yes, we know. And so with this Superman, again, the third iteration of Superman in the last 15, 20 years, we just dive in to his story. Love it. Also love Ma and Pa are alive. Thank you.
Yeah.
Ma and Pa, and they're the most precious versions of a Ma and Pa that I have
Yeah, they
seen.
are.
Can we also talk about Ma and Pa look like they're from Kansas?
Yeah.
Like these don't look
actually,
Yeah.
models.
Not actors,
that
like
just happen.
beautiful actors.
Yes.
Like Henry Cavill's parents look like they could have birthed Henry Cavill. And it's like,
Yeah.
no, he came from Krypton.
Yes.
These guys like definitely look like
Salt
they did
of the
not
earth.
birth.
Yes.
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 Like they sounded like Kansas people. The like speakerphone when she's calling Clark, I'm like, this
is America.
Is Ma and Pa. They actually exist.
Yes, oh my God, that's the thing. Like her having the phone on the coffee table on speaker,
Just leaning
and like
over.
leaning over, and I was like, oh my God, this is so real. And then it's just adorable how like it's even implied that the Pa is just like a very big softie when she calls him mush. Like that was just so adorable. And you can tell like, yes, he had his Kryptonian parents' like message to guide him, but like he also had genuinely kind people raising him on Earth, which also further reinforces how he is just good and light. Also very like pleasant surprise, the Justice Gang.
Love.
I did not expect other metahumans to be in the fold of this movie, and they just like were a joy. When I first saw them, I thought they were really strange. I also was kind of confused, I'm not gonna lie, because the way that they kind of talked about how they were sponsored by other people, I thought they were sponsored by Lex Luthor, and that's why I was even more confused. I'm like, wait, are they ultimately not good? But they are. They're just doofy.
Yes.
Doofy superhero contractors.
Yes, that's exactly who they are. I had not known about Guy Gardner's Green Lantern because I'm only familiar with like Hal Jordan and like one other.
I hate that bowl cut.
Yeah, that bowl cut was insane.
Incredible.
Guys, I saw an interview where James Gunn basically said like, in what way can I embarrass my good friend Nathan Fillion? That is like the way that, you know what? Like hilarious. He's just trying to get it. Also respect for him to just get his friends, hire his friends and put them in the movie. I get it. Like if
Yeah.
I'm successful,
I
I
do
want to
the same
hire.
thing.
Yeah, I want to hire all my friends. If I think you have a
Well,
I have a spot for
obviously,
you.
like his talented friends too, right? Like
Oh,
he's a
yes.
very good actor too.
Good point.
Yes.
Good point.
But yeah, so I think my biggest highs, well, great, overall, love the movie. Biggest highs, we're starting in the middle of the action. We have him established. Even Lois and his relationship had already started. Super into that. Like, I just get
Yeah.
me into it, and they did. And then there were touchstones that were different that I very much enjoyed. Crypto, adorable, great highlight. The Superbots, androids, like
Gary.
Gary, 412, everyone,
Yeah.
like, so fun. The fortress was really cool. Bradley Cooper being Jor-El. Oh my!
Unexpected.
Unexpected. I also for hot 10 minutes, I thought it was Lady Gaga as his mom, but I realized later it was someone else. It was a different actress.
Bro, I thought the same thing.
Yes, and
Really?
yeah, the entire movie.
I was like, wait,
really?
did they
Okay.
really just get the two actors?
They're like a
from
Star is Born,
A
and then
Born
a
to
Yes!
Star. is
Yes!
Superman.
That is
It's like, wait,
literally
hold
what-
on. Are they gonna
Yes.
sing?
Yeah. I straight up thought it was Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga. Like,
Oh my God.
yeah, so but I realized towards the end I was like, wait, that's not her at all. But yeah, and then again, Matt, I agree with you, the highlight of that that weirdo monster, and he's literally like, I'm trying to get him out without like murdering him, and like
Yeah.
straight murder. But Mr. Terrific was a really cool character. I can't gush enough. I'm
Terrific.
gonna pause. I need to give someone else time to speak.
Yeah. Yeah, sir. What did you think about it? You watched it, I guess,
Yep.
a couple days ago.
Yeah, so basically the next night, because you guys watched it Thursday night, opening night.
Thursday.
I watched
Yes.
it Friday night.
Yes.
Yeah. I loved it as well. I think my summary or my tagline for this is I loved it with gripes.
Okay.
So it was
Got
a
it,
great
yep.
movie, great watch. Right afterwards, a few people asked me if I would recommend it, and I said yes. So like this is definitely a movie that I think people should watch. But I think
Yeah.
it's just complicated by the fact that this is the official reboot of DCU, right? Like this is the official, like, here we are. Here's the DCU. This is how we're going to make this work. And so I think that is probably connected to some of the gripes that I have with some of the narrative storytelling. But beyond that, everything that Tiffany said is 100% accurate. Like, this is a fun movie
Yeah.
to watch. The characters in the movie are fantastic, pun intended. And honestly, it was just a really great time. And I really loved all the scenes that we got to see Crypto as well. Those were just all adorable.
Yeah.
And we need to see more Crypto. I can't believe this is the first time, like my first experience seeing Crypto in any like Superman related content, but
Oh, same.
I'm in love.
Yes.
Yeah, I think everything that you guys have talked about is kind of the big reason why I thought that this is I was so high on what it is. I'll be honest, in my rating, I was in between a 4 and a 4.5 for the longest time.
Out of 5.
And I kind of like sat down and just thinking through, like, is this a great movie? Because that's what I would say is a 4 out of 5, a great movie, an amazing movie being a 4.5 out of 5. And I was thinking through it, and I'm like, I do think this is a great movie, but I think this is an amazing Superman movie. And
Yeah.
I think there's like a
Right.
distinction there. Like, I
Definitely.
think I ended up giving it a 4.5 out of 5 because I think it's an amazing Superman movie, because I felt the vulnerability that they were able to express of Superman made it so much more interesting to me, and I was interested in all the other side characters too. I think Lois Lane historically has been kind of like a badass character. Like,
Yes.
she can handle her own stuff, and I think some people didn't like some of the Daily Planet sections. I thought it was really interesting. Like,
Yeah.
they didn't just the world is literally tearing apart. Okay, let's just focus on Superman now. No, like, everybody had a point to make. And honestly, what I really want to shout out is some of those main characters: Lois Lane, Superman, Lex Luthor, Mr. Terrific. Like, those 4, I think, did killer jobs. Like,
They nailed the roles.
honestly,
Yes.
my favorite was probably Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor. He was unhinged. He was evil. Like, Lex Luthor is not just like a bad guy. He's not a Bond villain. He is literally evil, and that they just like murked some random dude that like sells food.
Shawarma
Like
or whatever.
I was like, good. Like I loved that part. Like I
I was like, good. I like that.
Oh,
yeah, like I like that they just went all in.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
like a comic
I know
book
what you
villain.
mean.
He was evil, and I just love that they kind of went all in on it, and I couldn't be happier about some of those performances. What were kind of some of the stick out? We'll just stick to the positive right now, and then we'll talk about some of our gripes later. What else were kind of some of your big positives from the movie?
I liked the running joke about the Justice Gang. Like that. I mean, it's very small, but the idea
It did pay off.
Yes,
it did pay off,
it's paid off. That character, the like rock character, very
It's like
interesting.
Metamorpho or
Yeah,
something.
he was very interesting to me. Like just the concept of his abilities was kind of cool. I'm not gonna lie, I did like that one shot of like him and his family after like they're watching the news. Like I was curious about who his partner was, and I'm like, okay, cool, it's just some lady, because he has like a weird baby. I also really thought that I kind of okay, well, no, we're sticking to positives. The idea that Eve was actually important to the story was fantastic. Because in the beginning,
I like that too.
I was like, why are we seeing so much of her in the background, just taking a crap ton of selfies? Like, random, but had a purpose in the end, and it was a really good payoff. I also appreciated the influence of social media in this. Like, it's in the modern era. I really like that.
Sure.
I really like that.
It's definitely a movie of its time, right?
Yes.
100%.
And can we just talk about every time Superman had like that pose in the air and you hear the background music, chills every time. It like happened like good like
Magical.
3 or 4 times. The shots were just so good, and I was like, this is my Superman. Like it just brought me back to when I was a young kid. So
Yeah, I think I would harp to some of the points that you guys have already made, to be honest. Like, to me, this is a Superman movie, 1st and foremost. And I think that's its biggest strength.
yeah.
A lot of the gripes that I have are not with the Superman aspects of this movie and all the main characters that you mentioned earlier as well, Matt. Like, all those characters did a great job. The story was captivating. Like, there was a real purpose to what was going on. And what I think I really liked, because of the fact that this is their kickoff, but also this is Superman's like real beginning as a superhero. Like, yes, he's been doing it for a short period of time, somewhat related to number 3. I don't remember how long.
I think 3 years.
Okay.
3 years.
So he's been at it, but you can tell like he's still using his training wheels, right? Like he's still trying to grapple with, how do I use my powers and not like push boundaries, or what boundaries can I push? Because he's trying to push some boundaries, but he's understanding now that like there's going to be some flack when you try to do that. And I really have liked, or I really enjoyed the relationship that Clark and Lois had with each other. That was a relationship that I wanted to see more of. And honestly, there's just so much going on in this movie that it's hard to really take your time with some of the smaller pieces like that. But I loved every scene where they were together and they could really like talk through how she's seeing a situation versus how he's seeing it. I thought it was really cool.
One thing I really liked about the casting for this is I think Superman and Lois Lane were cast really well, and they were cast really well together. I listened to an interview James Gunn had on Dax Shepard's podcast, and it was really fascinating how they basically had everybody, and actually Nicholas Hoult applied to be Superman. Didn't get it, obviously. But they had them, do a casting just by themselves, and then they mixed and matched between the different Lois Lane and Superman, and they had such great chemistry, and it like this pays off so well. Man of Steel, Amy Adams, great.
Love Amy Adams.
Henry Cavill, great. I think they're both great actors. Together, they just didn't have it. Like they didn't have that chemistry, and I believe that they were in a relationship. Like they had a disagreement, and that Superman walked out, and she like almost like, wait, did he really did he really walk out? Like I felt like that was an actual relationship. Like the banter that they had, like you can tell that like she has an issue with some of the politics that he's kind of like dipping his toes in with the two kind of made up, countries that are fighting against each other. And that argument, or that, it wasn't even an argument, it was
discussion
under a guise that this was an interview, that she was interviewing Superman. And I thought that was just so masterfully done, where you can tell so much more about what the relationship has looked like the last 3 years, but they trust their audience to understand that and not just explain all these things of like, oh, is he Superman? Is he Clark Kent? Like I didn't want to see another one of those stories because we've seen it so many times before. But I thought they were really good. I feel like it's time to talk about the gripes. I don't want to hold you guys back. Tiffany, take it away.
Well, I have one more thing to say that I thought was that I liked. I like that throwaway line about how his glasses are special.
Yeah,
like that it like projects
like hypno glasses.
Yes,
Someone finally explained it.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I thought that was fun. I did like that. I think gripe wise, though, this is kind of silly, but I think I was just like, oh no, it just didn't feel good. But I thought it was great overall. So this is kind of not a real gripe, but like Lex Luthor being so unhinged and having his like little army of tech bros, it was just too much similar parallel to the real world for me right now in our current administrative climate. That was just, it didn't feel good. That was one piece which honestly, it just made me feel something. So it's actually not a big deal. I think one thing that was kind of strange to me was, I think we chatted about this, Matt, Jimmy Olsen's like weird like overlook of Eve, in the sense of like that relationship. I mean, like Eve just being a very clingy woman, and like Jimmy being like, this is awkward.
He was like detested by her.
Which to an extent I understand, right? In the sense of like they did portray her as just a very clingy person. Like that's the vibe I got. And like
like not very smart in a way.
Right.
But then she was smart. So like this is like that whole dynamic was just kind of weird. Or I think because there was a line saying like, what, she's hot? Like that was strange. Like that was just
because like you could tell he never thought of her as hot, and then someone's like, oh yeah, you're hot X, and he's like, hot? It was like the opposite what I said on the night. Have you ever seen Shallow Hal, Yasser?
No, I haven't.
Like, man, we need a re-release of Shallow Hal.
No, we don't.
That would not get made.
No.
That would not get made. But it's basically the opposite of that. It's like he was almost blinded. Like he thought she was so hideous, and then when someone said that she's actually hot, he was like, oh, really? Like you could almost see like him warming to her. So that was a weird dynamic. I completely agree.
Yeah.
I did like the whole like mutant toes. Like I thought that was funny.
I thought that was kind of funny. It's also kind of believable if you like save someone's number. Oh, I mean, it's also a small gripe. I did also appreciate that there was actually conversation in the phone that like was
and it wasn't just a new conversation.
Yes, this element of real, you know what I mean? Like that really helps. Someone else talk. I don't know that I actually have much gripes. I'm gonna be honest.
Honestly, to that point,
that's fair.
I can definitely relate to what you were saying about like this does feel a little too real. I think there is definitely some messaging in this movie. Whether
with
like
the war,
depends on depending on how you look at it, it can be a positive or a negative. I will say, I liked how they did like the monkey trolling on the internet thing. Like that was funny to me.
100%.
Yeah.
But towards the end, I think there was some pretty heavy-handed messaging of like, especially at the end when they caught Lex, like he had this monologue and there was like true messaging I felt through that seemed a little heavy-handed and kind of rushed. So I can definitely see where you're coming from, as like this feels very relatable. But to me, it felt like it was inserted in for a message versus it really being a plot device. But to your point, Matt, I do think like he is comic book evil in a way as well.
Yeah.
Where it kind of makes sense. Like, okay, this is Lex Luthor. He's just like unhinged. That's his character. So honestly, I get it, but I agree with what you mean. Like it is very connected to where we are in real world stuff. And that can sometimes take you out of a story that you're enjoying, right? Because it kind of
Hmm.
relates to some of the real stuff that's going on. Positive and negative, I think, like you said. It kind of depends on how you take it.
Yeah. I kind of, it's impossible to separate art and an artist. Like I understand that.
Mhm.
Like James Gunn obviously has affected like the rest of us of like world time events and like things that are happening on. So finding this, like I almost, even looking back 20 years, like we could probably still relate a lot of these things to things that were happening at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have as big of a deal. It did seem like he was trying to push a lot of narratives all at once, and I've heard
Mhm.
some people talk about how that was not as fun for them as a moviegoer of like all these things happening, because
Mhm.
even like the monkey trolls that are happening, like you could almost point that to what happened to him at Marvel, like him
Mm,
old tweets getting unearthed, and like
yeah.
basically he was kind of like martyred in Marvel, like between volume 2 and volume 3 happening. There was that huge backlash from the cast of volume 3 to bring him back. He came back for volume 3 and then left to now lead the DCU. Like I think some of that could have implications of him pointing that to Kevin Feige and Disney and Marvel, and basically having kind of these people kind of take out someone who, I guess in James Gunn mind, he would be kind of that Superman character, whether or not that's true or not, or even if that's like a huge leap. Like he's probably hasn't come out to say like, yeah, I was Superman in this story. But like I think there's a lot of kind of interesting points that you can do about it. The one thing that I really liked, and I don't know how resonant this came to you all. Before at the very beginning of the film, he's listening to his Star is Born parents, tell him the message that he was sent with the baby, and then towards the end, like it turned into a slideshow of him with mom and pa.
I
And to
love
Yeah,
me,
that.
I
I
love
love
that. Like
that.
I thought
Mhm.
it was cool. Like I think this fits with James Gunn. Like James Gunn, if you look at all of his movies up to this point, the big theme amongst all of them is found family. Like
Yes.
found family being supreme. That's the reason why Guardians of the Galaxy is still probably one of my favorite movie franchises within Marvel, is because of that found family. Like he really puts it all out there, and he kind of has that same theme here. It worked really well for me. I felt emotional towards the end of it, even though Mom and Paul was such a small part of this movie.
Yes.
Mhm.
I thought that he did a really good job of kind of like letting that sink in. It worked for me for sure.
I like squealed at the end when I saw that because that made me so happy. Actually, one thing that reminds me of one thing I didn't like. I didn't like knowing or like not confirming if the second half of his Kryptonian parents' message was true or false.
It was real.
No,
Everyone
I know
confirmed throughout the movie that it was
because I
real.
think
I
Mr.
didn't
Terrific
believe
kind of
it.
talked about it.
I didn't
Yeah, he even
believe it.
confirmed it.
No, I wanted,
Right?
I wanted
And yeah,
someone
yeah,
to
I
say
think
that
you
Okay,
did.
that
okay.
wasn't real. That's basically what I
And
wanted.
No, yeah.
I think that's pretty interesting. Like
Yeah.
it's interesting. Like
It's a
he is
spin.
not who he was supposed to be
Mhm.
potentially, but he is who Mom and Paul raised him to be. Like he is
Yes.
Mhm.
that good old boy from Kansas that tried to do the best and make the most of it. And what was more important to Superman is really how he filled in the gaps of what that
Yeah.
second half of the message could have been. And I love that part actually. Like
Yeah.
I completely see how you see that as a negative, because that can just be damning to Superman. But I loved it. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I actually liked it too. I think it spoke to what I think his dad told him, which is that you kind of are your own man and you have
Mm.
to find your
Mhm.
own way. So you can't really rely on someone else like your parents to tell you what you're supposed to become. And I think that was
Mhm.
actually one of the messages from Man of Steel too, how a lot of the people on Krypton were kind of assigned roles at birth, and how
Mm.
this was going to be like a shift for him where he gets to choose his own path as Superman.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it kind of harked to that kind of background. I don't know if that's like how it is in the comic books, to be honest. But if that is, like, that definitely harps back to a very similar topic in Man of Steel. And I
Mm.
actually love that too. I don't think it's a negative in my mind. And I like the way that they spun it into a very heartwarming kind of conversation between him and his parents and how he sees himself through them. And like you guys said, how he kind of transitions to really thinking about his US parents as like his real parents, because that's those are the two people that really raised him and turned him into the person that he
Mm-hmm.
became.
Yeah.
To me, I think I'm gonna just like get into my biggest gripe just to like rip the band-aid off.
Okay.
Yeah, do it.
Um, this is my biggest gripe, okay? And I'm not sure
Okay.
if I'm gonna explain it all that well, but if it's confusing, let me know. My
Okay.
biggest gripe is that this movie just does or tries to do so much. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
It's the DCU reboot, number one. Number two, it's a Superman movie trying to introduce you to Superman as a character. Number two. Number three, it's trying to get you to understand all the things that happened before this movie, including these superheroes that we have never seen before on screen, right?
Yes.
With these Justice Gang.
Metahumans. Yeah.
Yeah. And then number four, it's really understanding this character in Lex Luthor and his intentions and really understanding like why he is the way that he is. And these are all things that take time. And
Yeah.
I feel like it's hard to get like true payoff for some of these like final chapter resolutions without the time that it takes to understand those characters first. And
Mm-hmm.
that's just a like a time thing. Like you can't really make that up with great writing or great casting or great acting. It just takes time. And I think I kind of respect it as far as like we just need to get these characters out there and then we can build them from movie to movie. But to me, it
Mm-hmm.
just feels like a segmented movie because of all the things that they're trying to throw at you at once. They can't do it all. So they just did a great job of the opportunities those characters had on screen, but we need more of it to really flesh it out in my mind. Does that make sense?
I think it does. I
Mm-hmm.
I feel like in a line with what you're saying, the movie kind of felt like three different movies to me. Like the way that it
Mm,
was paced and the arcs that we were in, and maybe it's just not even that it's three different movies, it's just the three acts. But like I did feel like I'm like, oh, we're learning this. Like, oh, now the plot is this. Oh, the plot is this now. And that I did feel like the vibes were just like shifting kind of quickly.
Mm-hmm.
mhm,
I didn't really see that as a negative. I think for me, like I just accepted the fact that like we're jumping into the story straight away. Like that's how I kind of took how everything was happening and how like we didn't get like, the time with some of these characters.
And
Like
honestly, I give James Gunn a lot of credit because to me, this is like an easy movie where it could have been like 3.5 hours, you know?
yes,
Like to really
yes.
flesh out these characters, try to understand them, but then it just runs too long. I would rather
Mm-hmm.
have this version of the movie and you just have to say, like, hey, this is our reboot. These are the characters, and we'll just get to some of the fleshing out later rather than have a prolonged movie that just took too long. So I get it. I totally get it. But that's just my gripe with like how much they tried to do is all. But like I've already said, I love the movie and it's a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah. I think that's completely fair. Like to me, I bought into Lex Luthor. Like I thought that by the end of it, maybe honestly like 75% of it, we didn't know what his deal was. Like we just knew he
Yeah.
was evil.
Yeah.
I thought that some of the last couple of monologues did a lot of heavy lifting for him, and I believed it. I also have background knowledge on Lex Luthor, so maybe I'm a little bit more forgiving of kind of knowing the ins and outs of like what he is doing. So maybe I'm the target audience to kind of look over that. For the most part, like I interpret a lot of these gripes as kind of trusting the audience to kind of fill in the gaps and kind of,
Hmm.
setting it off. Because if I had a choice of this movie versus a movie that really just set the stage and set the foundation, I think I would
Hmm.
be more happy with what we got. Just and this might be just completely a personal preference to me. I do think some of the pacing of the middle arc or middle act was a little bit not as jarring. It's the reason why I don't think this is a perfect movie. I think when they went into
Pocket dimension?
that pocket universe, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
all this looks uninteresting. And oh, is that the merchandising, item, which is basically Baby Joey? Like, I hate. Can we just take a moment? Okay, if you're starting a movie, if you're doing a movie, you better not have a baby there unless there's a reason for there to be a baby there. My biggest this has been worse this summer. Jurassic World Rebirth. They have this little baby dinosaur that's in all the marketing. They were like tweeting out before the movie came out, like, we must protect Dolores at all costs. It's like, Dolores? Who's Dolores? Well, it's this little baby that they carry around with them. Like, this is the most like, hey, we want to sell plushies for a long time after this. Please buy our toys. And it's hard to see a baby get introduced in the middle act and be like, is this just for kids? Like, I hate that. I hated that. I didn't know if that really worked for me.
It was the motivations for the...
I like the actor for Metamorpho a lot. I don't know if I personally cared for him until the end when he was like really actually doing a lot of things.
Yeah.
I didn't kind of like his like emo sitting in the corner.
That's true. I mean,
and like angrily like force the kryptonite onto Superman. Like, a lot of those scenes didn't work for me personally. But that would probably be my biggest gripe of like, okay, I think we're doing too much. Like, I think I was happy with all the characters being introduced up to this point. Now we've stepped over that line. Like, we've gone too far now. But I still think overall, like, I like the ending of kind of like tying some of the loose ends of like when Nathan Fillion's character was like, no, like, you're not in our gang. And then he's like, oh, I love that. I love that name. And he's like,
you're in.
Like,
yeah.
I thought that was a great way to kind of tie some of these things together. So I don't think it was all a loss, but yeah, hardly a perfect movie. But I quite enjoyed quite a bit of it. Question for you all, because we've talked a lot about this being kind of the foundation of the DCU. This is the first movie installment that's officially part of the DCU. There are things that will continue on, like whether or not Matt Reeves' Batman is part of the DCU. They really haven't explained that very well up to this point. It might just be a separate project with, DC Studios.
That's what it sounds like to me, yeah.
I kind of hope so, honestly, because I'm like, I can't see Robert Pattinson joining it. Like, this is too stark of a difference.
Yes.
It's just the timelines are so weird because that just got
It is weird.
pushed back again another year.
Yeah.
So it's like you have this separate entity in DC that is not connected, but yet it's coming out 2 years from now. It's very odd.
And then they also announced, is it Caped Crusader or something, that will be a Batman story that will at some point happen. And it's believed that that's not going to be Robert Pattinson that's going to do that. So very kind of wishy-washy on what's going to be part of the DCU. But saying that this is the cornerstone, this is the foundation of DCU, how do you feel about this? Is this an Iron Man situation? Iron Man still holds up as one of the best Marvel movies, in my opinion. Do you think that this is a lot to build on, or do you think that this is kind of a shaky foundation?
I'll let you go first, Tiffany.
I feel like the foundation is pretty good. I mean, I did get a lot of intrigue with Supergirl showing up in the last 10 minutes. I was shocked. I didn't realize that she was in this movie. I didn't realize that Krypto was her dog. I didn't realize that she's a hot mess express. So that is very interesting to me. I think that I'm willing to check out whatever world and stories build off of this one because I enjoyed it so much. I really like this version of Superman, and I hope that he is kept throughout some of the, movies as him. Because I mean, this whole Batman thing is a little bit confusing or.
Yep.
He's staying as Superman.
100%.
At least that's the plan.
Yes, I want him to stay as Superman, and I think that I'm ready to see the evolution of the Justice Gang into the Justice League. Like there are seeds in here that I'm totally into. Honestly, would love to learn a little bit more about Mr. Terrific. I don't know where Mr. Patrick came from. I'm okay. I'm happy with this foundation. Like, let's pat it down. Cool. Let's get it ready to set up some other stuff.
Yep. Yeah, I think in comparison to Iron Man, I feel like Iron Man is a great standalone movie, and that's why it has such holding power to me. Whereas this movie is just a great kickoff point in my mind, where it's like it may be not the best standalone movie, but this is a fantastic Superman movie, and it kicks off everything that we have for like the preliminary stages of, I guess, stage one of DCU. I think it does a great job of
Hmm.
that. And I'm very excited to see some of these characters in other roles as we kind of get going. I'm very excited to see where that Supergirl cameo takes us. I read a little bit about it, and apparently it is comic book connected, where like there was a version of Supergirl where she's just out going to other planets to get drunk on her 21st birthday. I think that's just hilarious. Like having just like
Yeah.
a funny take on this character that I
Yeah.
honestly don't see on screen enough, in my opinion. So it's gonna be
Hmm.
great to have her. It seems like we're gonna have her early on in the DCU, so that's gonna be
Hmm.
exciting to me. And see them like kind of interact in future movies. That's gonna be a lot of fun, especially because you can tell there's a very different type of personality between the two characters of Superman versus Supergirl. So it's gonna be a cool dynamic, I think, when they do share the screen eventually. But I feel like there's still a lot of questions about like obviously what we talked about with Batman, since that's the other biggest character in DCU. Like, how is that going to work? We don't know at
Hmm.
all yet because obviously we haven't heard about Bruce Wayne at all in this movie for sure. And then also, like, what other characters are going to be the cornerstone of DCU? Is it
Yeah.
um, Mr. Terrific? Like, is he part of it? I loved him as a character. I want to know
Yes.
more,
That is
but
great.
is he good enough for like a star position in a movie? Maybe, maybe
Hmm.
not. But I want to see it. I want to see them try it. It seems like he's a cool character. But what other characters do we plan to see? Are we going to see this Green Lantern? Are we going to see other Green Lanterns as
I
well?
know.
There's a lot of questions, I think, but this really does give them a lot of options to go from here, which I think is obviously where you want to be if you're DCU, right?
Hmm. A
What
year
do you
from
think,
now,
Matt?
we'll have already watched the Supergirl movie because it comes
Oh,
out next June. So
I
wow.
like
actually
it
didn't even
is,
know that.
it's
That's
done.
awesome.
It's done filming. It
Oh,
is, they are in the editing process. Like this is set to be the next summer blockbuster for DCU, which I'm excited for. Like
Interesting. That
I
is
don't know
exciting.
much about Supergirl to be honest.
yeah. Me
So
neither.
I'm excited to see that on the screen. Here's my worry. I'm
Hmm.
worried for the Marvelization of DC. Like Marvel has the roots have gone out and gone out and gone out and gone out. And now we're getting all these TV shows and required readings and watchings for all these
True.
shows and movies that is hard to kind of keep up. I saw that James Gunn was asked, like, hey, like, are you considering some spin-offs from Superman? And he had mentioned a show for not only Mr. Terrific, which I think is a great idea. I would love that. But for Jimmy. Like the report, like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
No, like, no, we're already going too far. No, please. I hope it doesn't spread out too quick. I hope we can kind of
Mm.
enjoy our time. It's not, one movie at a time and kind of building this out. I do like the thought of some of these DC projects all having a different feel to them. He's already
Hmm.
talked about the next after Supergirl is going to be Clayface, which is a Batman villain, and it is going to be body horror, like something similar to The Substance, something that is like very kind of
Hmm.
gruesome. That will not be a blockbuster, but I'm just interested to see kind of what that would look like in the DC universe, and I'm excited to
Interesting.
kind of see everything kind of be within its own silo underneath this whole universe. That maybe there's some connections, but maybe we're not yet getting that like huge Avengers moment, because I do think once Marvel went Avengers, we haven't looked back. Now everything's connected. Everybody's in
Yeah.
everybody's story. And it felt, pardon, my take, it seems a little bit more like Arrowverse at some points than, the Avengers at this point. Like
Dang.
it is like, oh, here's the Flash and here's the Green Arrow, and like it just
Yeah.
I've not enjoyed a lot of Marvel recently because it just feels like they're trying to double dip in a lot of different projects, and I hope Marvel's resetting hopefully this summer, and I hope DC kind of has learned from that to know maybe we shouldn't go that way.
Hmm.
We'll see. Time will tell. This is literally the first iteration, but I'm excited to at least have them both.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like I trust James Gunn's vision because I don't feel like he was behind that in Marvel, right? And
Right.
I
Yeah.
feel like him and probably others that have looked at Marvel's situation are probably going to understand that there's a certain capacity that people have for these types of
Yeah.
movies where you can't kind of, or in shows where you can't really just overdo
Mm-hmm.
it in a yearly basis. So I'm with you, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
hopeful that that does not happen. I'm interested in some of the things that you're saying because, like, once you have R-rated or like very different genre movies in your DCU, it does make it feel like you can't have them be required readings then, because
Right.
other people
Mm-hmm.
might like different things. And so, how do you really bridge that gap without having to have them watch whether it's that
Yeah.
show or that TV or that movie, so that you can still bring them together, but it doesn't end up being like confusing for the audience. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure it's a very delicate balance. I'm sure they're thinking about all of these things, but I'm definitely excited to see where it goes as well. And I think Supergirl coming out next year sounds fantastic. Um, I really think that that would be a very fun movie, mainly because of the fact that the main character is like fully on board with James Gunn's like comedic
Yeah.
capabilities as well. Like where you can just like go full on. Whereas Superman, you kind of have to like restrain it a little bit because he's kind of more grounded and
Serious.
not as funny of a character.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So I'd be interested in like is he like completely connected to that movie as well, or is he just producing it? Do you know?
I think he's just producing.
Okay.
As far
So
as
it'll
I
be
know,
interesting to see
he did
who
not
he
write
picks
it
for
or
that.
direct it.
I
Yeah.
see, I see. But yeah, very, very curious where they go from here. There's a lot of different opportunities in DCU, obviously. So sky's
Yeah.
the limit.
All right. Any closing thoughts? It sounds like we all recommend
We
this
all
movie.
recommend
So,
it.
yeah,
Yeah,
definitely
yeah.
go check this out.
And to be clear, so I rated it 3 out of 5 stars, mainly for that joke that you were saying about like just going with the three. I think I was
Yeah.
on the fence of like 3.5 and 4, where like Tiffany
Hmm.
landed. You landed at 4, right,
Yeah, I
Tiffany?
landed 4 out of 5.
Yeah, I was actually pretty close to rating it a 4. I think to your point, Matt, this is definitely clearly in my mind a 4-star movie if we're just straight up saying Superman. It might even be
Hmm.
higher. And then as like a movie, that's where I put it as like probably a 3.5.
Yeah.
But that already is good enough to be fresh on the Rotten Tomatoes score.
Yeah.
And so I would be part of that, whatever, 85% of people loving this movie. And I think it's like 90 plus for audience. So
Yeah.
I think a lot of people like this movie.
It's sustaining a 4 out of 5 on Letterboxd, which is crazy. Like that's pretty good. I think Sinners, which is a lot of people's favorite movie so far, is like a 4.2, and this is at a 4.0. And
Mhm.
so I'm pretty pumped about that. I think that's a good sign for them. I think this is better than what they needed it to be, because I think they needed at least a 3. They needed a solid 3 to really say, hey, this is the start of something new. But that they're already at this high, I think this is great. So we'll see. Yeah, thanks so much, the both of you, for watching this, recording this with me. It was so much fun to talk about. We honestly could probably talk a couple more hours about it, but we'll keep it short. Save our energy for Fantastic Four in a couple weeks.
We'll save
Be
the
sure
longer discussion
to
for the Snyder cut.
Ooh, that's right. Yeah. That's right. So subscribe so you can catch that Fantastic Four talk in a couple weeks. Shout out to Grandmaster Doug. Shout out to everybody else. We will see you next time.